Welcome to this
It's gonna be an awesome adventure.
episode of the Maz's Musings podcast. And yes, certainly it is going to be an awesome adventure. We are joined by Tom and Michelle from the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. They are a terrific Disney podcast. They've been doing it for right around 400 episodes, I think. Maybe more, maybe less. I don't know exactly, but they've been at this for a long time. They are great people, and they really spread a lot of the positive messages about Disney and really try to make sure that everybody has something good and positive to listen to on a weekend and week out basis. They have been really gracious with their time and scheduling and making sure that we're able to get this done, especially this week. I am on a business trip, so I had to tweak the schedule a little bit, and so I appreciate them being flexible with me. Before we get to that main topic of the week, of course, we have Meghan and her Cuckoo Bananas Joke of the Week.
And now it's time for Meghan's
Cuckoo Bananas Joke.
Hi, Meghan.
Hi.
So before we get into our joke today, I've got a question for you.
What?
So a couple of people were asking me about the last joke and why you were saying that you were a crab.
I just like to say that. And I'm funny. That's why.
Oh, okay. What is it with crabs? I mean, you've been very obsessed with crabs for like the past year.
I just like to say it. Plus, I'm funny.
Oh, okay. Okay, funny crab girl. Do you have a joke for us today?
Of course I do.
Okay, let's hear it.
What does an alien do when it's bored in school?
I don't know. What does an alien do when it's bored in school?
Spaces out. I don't even know what that means.
Spaces out means like you're not paying attention, you're daydreaming. But like aliens are in space. Get it? Oh, wow, that was loud. Sorry, everybody. All right, time to say goodnight.
Good night. Goodbye. Good night. Goodbye. Cuckoo.
Well, there is Meghan once again. I don't think we'll ever quite get to the bottom of this crab fascination. Maybe she'll grow out of it. I thought she had grown out of it, and then we're back into it. I don't get it. But how the mind of a 7-year-old works is something that I will probably never fully understand anyway. Anyway, one thing that I do understand is that Tom and Michelle had a lot of great things to say about some of their recent experiences, whether it's on a Disney cruise, at the parks, and at Destination D23. So we'll get right into that conversation right now.
Donald, wake up! It's showtime! Don't forget the orchestra!
Ah, there you are. And just in time.
Mom says there's even more magical stuff now.
For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors.
Hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. And here we go!
All right, I am here with Tom and Michelle from the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are a Disney fan and you are not listening to the Hyperion Adventures Podcast, please start doing that right away. Like as soon as you're done with this podcast, go check them out because they are great. And one of the best things that I love about your podcast, guys, is that it's all about the positivity, with everything. I believe that you describe it as the oasis of positivity, and especially with the way that even the Disney fandom can be sometimes. It's great and refreshing to have this positive perspective that you guys bring. So I'm going to throw it to you guys to introduce yourselves and what your podcast is all about. And so fire away.
Well, thank you, Chris. And thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate you being on the show today. We're very excited about this. So I'm Tom and you are?
I'm Michelle.
And we are the Disney podcast of positivity, the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And yes, you nailed it right on the head. When we try to be on a weekly basis, kind of that oasis away from the negativity that is out in the world. And yes, within the Disney community, you can run into that. But I mean, just in general, I mean, you're berated by negativity from everything that's around you, social media, news, you name it. For 1 hour, a half hour, sometimes 2 hours, we go long sometimes. We just like to be that kind of space where you can kind of break away from that and enjoy some positive, hopefully interesting Disney talk, Michelle.
Yeah, and it's not like we aren't realistic about things, and whether it's life or what's going on with Disney. It's just, where do we put the spotlight? Where do we put the focus? And we like to do it on the things that bring joy to us, and hopefully bring joy to our listeners.
Yeah, and you guys are always, while you're positive, you're always honest too. When you have an experience, if something, I know that you guys especially are, you guys are foodies. So, there are times where it's just like, that was, you're, while the entire experience is positive, you're not, what's the term I'm looking for? You're not trying to look through everything with rose-colored glasses. You are honest with people about your experiences, and I think that's refreshing too. That there is a way to be like, yeah, this could have been a little better, without it being a super negative, experience that isn't all that enjoyable to listen to. But I will say, in terms of the positivity, you guys usually put out your episodes on Sunday. I usually hold off and listen to them on Mondays on my way into work, so that I get my week off on the right foot. And so I thank you very much for helping me on a regular basis start my week off with a positive spin.
That's so sweet. We appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We always appreciate more listeners, that's for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of our goal. And we don't expect a lot of people to listen to us on Sundays necessarily, but we want it to be out there for whenever people want to start their week off with hopefully what we would like to be a little bit of a positive jolt, especially on a Monday, which can always be tough for everybody.
Now, you guys have had some great episodes lately. I think that you guys have even said yourselves that these have been some of your favorite series of episodes, basically over the past 3 or 4 weeks. So if you want to please just for those who may not have heard them, kind of just give us a little bit of a breakdown of some of the things that you've been talking about on your podcast the past couple of days, or the past couple of weeks, excuse me.
Well, thank you. First of all, that's really kind compliment. I think some of the things that have made it special is we've had some really wonderful people join us, some, really passionate people. And I think that always helps make the show even better. And we kickstarted this more recent series with the co-hosts from Disney Assembled. And they came on and talked about their kind of like a reboot visit to Disneyland. They hadn't been in a long time, and going there right when the 70th anniversary was going on. So it was great hearing how fun that was for them. And then we had the opportunity to have some really special guests come on that are associated with Disney. We had the co-executive producer of Marvel's newest show that's out for, geared towards preschoolers, but we enjoyed it as well, which is Iron Man and his awesome friends. And that was
James
James
Eason
Eason.
Garcia.
I'm like, oh, wait,
We've had so much going
I
on.
know.
It starts to clog your brain a little bit. I get it.
And he was amazing. And then last week, we had on another guest who was a Disney historian and author, Didier Guez, who has written a lot of things, but he came on specifically to talk about his book, The Origins of Walt Disney's True Life Adventures. And you throw in there, then we also went on a DVC member cruise that was filled with a lot of fun and celebrities. So it's just been kind of a very exciting time.
It's really been a whirlwind the last about 4 weeks of episodes that we've had some excellent guests on and we'd like to believe that we're always have interesting topics, but we feel like this week we really hit like prime guests and prime topics to speak about. And that's going to conclude this week when we're also going to be talking about Destination D23, which we are lucky enough to visit. So it's just been an amazing week. And we think we have some more coming here very, very soon, that this might just continue this run on for the next several weeks as well.
Well, you guys are going to be talking about Destination D23, and I don't want you to give away everything, but I would love to talk with you a little bit about that later to get a taste of some of the things you experienced and what people will be able to hear when they listen to your podcast. But before we get into that, Michelle, you mentioned the DVC member cruise. And as a fellow DVC member who has really kind of gone back and forth about whether or not, these member cruises, I don't know, is this something that's worth it? It sounds good, but, I've hemmed and hawed about this and was just like, that's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But is it going to be worth it? And of course, worth is always subjective, but I would love to hear from you guys what some of your top takeaways, some of your favorite things and experiences from that DVC member cruise, and what made that special, because you guys have been on other cruises before, and what set this above and beyond some of those other cruise experiences?
Great question, Chris. First of all, I think the energy on that cruise was so much more exciting than any other cruise we've been on. And we've been on a fair amount that have had some great shows or great theming, et cetera. But this one was just, I know it's a term that people use a lot, but it's like on steroids, it just was amazing. And then the other thing that was really impressive is how the celebrities were actually among the guests, and a lot of times when you're going to things, yes, you may see celebrities be performers or whatever, and that's kind of it. Maybe you're lucky if you get to at the end of a panel or something, like at a Comic-Con or something, go talk to them or something. But they were at the shows, they were, at the parties and everything. And it was great. And I think there was a wonderful balance where they were willing to talk to guests, but I think also the guests were recognizing, hey, they're there with family too. And so let's, be respectful of that as well. So I think those things were really highlights that I can understand now why the cost is a little bit higher, not to mention, you get gifts and things like that. And just other experiences like learning to draw from Floyd, Disney
legend Floyd Norman.
Yeah, I mean, that was just mind blowing.
Yeah. It's insane. It is so good. At DVC, this is our first ever one. We'd heard great things about it, but had never experienced it for ourselves. And we finally, this worked schedule wise for us. It was nearby. It was in Florida, sailing out of Florida. We could book this thing. Now, yes, you're right, Chris. It's expensive. More Disney cruises in general are expensive. Mm-hmm. This is even more expensive. And when you book it, you need to pay in full the day you book. So that's another thing too. It's not a matter of building up to it, like putting it down a small deposit and then paying it off, or saving up and paying it off later. You need to pay in full to begin with. So that can be a little problem. But when you get on board, that all goes out the window. One, you paid for it like a year and a half ago. So, you forget almost that you did that. But, between, as Michelle was mentioning, the gifts you receive, we heard you want to bring an extra suitcase on board because of all the gifts you receive. And luckily, one of the gifts we received was a very large bag, because we needed every inch of that bag plus space we had in our suitcases to carry off the amazing gifts they provide to you every single day. Twice a day, you're getting some gifts and some other things throughout it as well. But then the intimacy of it, like we're going to be talking about Destination D23, and that's an amazing event. And we think Destination D23, we used to go to the D23 Expo. We will again. But that's grand, huge, massive. Destination D23 felt more intimate. This is that even more extreme. When you're there, and as Michelle was mentioning, learning to draw from Floyd Norman, Disney legend Floyd Norman, and there also in the studio or in the room learning to draw is Disney legend Ron Clements, who doesn't need to learn to draw, but he's in there. We're watching the Beauty and the Beast stage show, and there in the theater watching the Beauty and the Beast stage show just a few feet from us is the first Belle on Broadway, Susan Egan. Things like that going on. You're going to the lounges. They're in there. You're going on the pool deck. They're
dancing, and all of a sudden you realize you're dancing with the Ariel, with Jodie Benson, right next to you. Like, oh, what?
It's incredible. It's really, really a special, special experience. There's another one coming up this next year. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with our scheduling, but believe me, when the 2027 Disney DVC member cruise comes around, we're going to be looking really, really at going again, because it just blew our socks off.
Yeah. And one of the things, if anybody is a DVC member like you, Chris, and then thinking about it, there is a difference between like a DVC member cruise and the ones that are like the first waves that are, like the one coming up for Destiny, things like that, because that's not the same. That's just the regular cruise, but they've, kind of allocated rooms to specifically host DVC members. But this DVC member cruise is something that is really special. And as Tom said, the gifts, they're really wonderful gifts. It's not, like when you go on a Disney cruise, you get things from when you go on a Disney cruise, you get DVC gifts, swag and stuff. But these are like limited edition pins. These are lithographs, we
got things like, we got a Bluetooth speaker. We got an electronic neck fan for all those hot days out at the parks, a wonderful beach bag, amazing plush beach towel, a Dante from Coco plush. The list went on and on.
Everybody in the cabin gets it. So it's not just one gift per the cabin. Everybody gets it.
Yeah, it's funny, you mentioned the DVC gifts on the regular Disney cruise. Those alone were tickled Meghan, to no end. Like, I mean, one of the gifts was DVC chapstick, and that was
those are the
like
best.
The best thing in the world. Like,
it is.
I could only imagine like her reaction to the gifts of the DVC member cruise. But yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing. And I mean, beyond the gifts, the experiences and the connection, obviously being able to have a close connection with some of the people who have created the Disney that we know and love. So that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. You mentioned the DVC's sections or whatever for the for other cruises. You guys are also going to be sailing on the Destiny at some point. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not for a while yet. I think you might be sailing aboard the Destiny before we are, if I'm not mistaken. We're not sailing until late June of next year, but we were sailing earlier. But they opened up 7 nights, and we wanted to go on some longer cruises. So when they opened up the 7-night, we pivoted and we'll take a little longer till we go, and we'll go and do a full 7-night.
Yeah, and it's going to Puerto Rico, which is a port we haven't had a chance to go to before. So this is really exciting.
Yeah, we're going in February of next year.
Nice.
So we're going to Cozumel and then Castaway. So we did look at a longer cruise, a 7, but it just didn't work with our timing. The scheduling is sometimes a little tough, especially for us, Eileen being a teacher, and on top of her not wanting to take time off of work, or not being able to take significant time off of work. She is also much more of a stickler of Meghan missing school than I am. I when I grew up, it was just like, oh yeah, we would go on vacation, a lot of times off season and such, because that's when it was more affordable. So I would remember going, like to Disney World, but at night, but we would have a packet of like the homework that was going to be done that week when, so my parents would get the homework from the teacher. And so a few nights a week, it's like, sure, you're at Disney, but you're still returning to school when you get back. So you need to be up on what's going on. So, but
Right.
Eileen, no. If there's school, Meghan is going to be there. We're not. So,
that 5-night itinerary is actually the exact same itinerary we were on for the DVC member cruise, and it's great because you get a couple sea days, so you can really experience a brand new beautiful ship. But then Cozumel is fantastic. We love Cozumel; it's one of our favorite ports. And then you get Castaway, which is always great. Yeah, so that you'll enjoy that sailing.
I would love to see Lookout Key. But it just wasn't in the cards. You guys have stopped there before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We did, right about, actually, as we're recording this, 1 year ago, we were out on, we did a back-to-back on Disney Magic, and we had,
that's right.
So we had 2 stops. We had 2 stops at Lookout Key. And it's great. We love it.
Mm-hmm.
We may love Lookout Key more than we love Castaway Key. Maybe that's just because it's new.
Mm-hmm.
But both spots are fantastic, but we really, especially the swimming and the snorkeling and the beaches at Lookout Key are spectacular.
Yeah. And they've really brought in the culture, and they, have shows involving performers of people who live on the other part of the island, because it is an island that is not completely owned by Disney. And so it just has more of some cultural feel to it.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm hoping to get there eventually. I talk like I've been on a bunch of cruises. This will be my second Disney cruise in February. We went on the Wish, and that was a nice ship. I also didn't really have much to compare it to. The only other cruise I had been was a much smaller ship on a cruise to Bermuda. So I was very, very skeptical about cruising again, because, but the Disney experience is just above and beyond. It's not just, a cruise. It has that Disney magic, that Disney feel. And I have a feeling that a lot more cruises are going to be in the future, provided that we can continue to afford them.
That's always the question.
Yes.
And if you like the Wish, from everything we understand about people we've talked, we have not been on the Treasure yet, but from everybody we've talked to about being on the Treasure, they say it's a step up from the Wish, and I can only believe that the Destiny is going to be more so that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I've heard some of the not so much criticisms, but things that people say, well, there was an opportunity to do this a little better with the Wish. And when I look at the Wish, I look at the time period in which it was being built, and how the whole world was upside down. And so it's a marvel that this got put together at all in some respects. I love the documentary that they did on making the Wish. I thought that was fascinating, especially because you're seeing this happen kind of in this live time when we were still adjusting and then readjusting and then readjusting again. So kudos to everybody who works on any one of these ships. It's a marvel how they're able to put these things together.
Yeah. And the Wish, I mean, they were up until delivery. As they were going across the Atlantic, they were still building the inside of it, finishing off the inside, even just right as they're welcoming the first guests on board. They were still, finishing off everything. They were so far behind because of all the issues that went around that time period that, it shouldn't surprise you that maybe some things weren't perfect on it. And we'll have to see once they come out of there, whenever they get to their official first dry dock, what happens. But again, from everything we've heard from people that have been on the Treasure, because they had more time, because they didn't have the setbacks that went along with the global pandemic, that they really took it to that next level for sure. And again, the Destiny, I have no doubt that they'll even learn more lessons from the treasure and make that even more special.
All right. So most recently, you guys, like you mentioned, and I mentioned, were able to be a part of Destination D23. And before that, you guys were able to do something that, again, last year was actually another first for me, which was Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. When I told people last year that we were doing that, and we were doing it, without Meghan, this was an adults only trip. People were just like, well, kind of shocked by that. But really, one of the things that I loved about that experience was, and just like with most Disney experiences, is, it really is one of those things where, adults can be kids, and and really lean into a fun time of year that oftentimes is kind of reserved for kids a little bit. So I had a blast last year, and I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience with the Halloween party this year.
Well, it's interesting you were saying that about, Chris, about, going as adults, which we did, and also the issue of, you're allowed to be a kid. And I have to say, I went on the Mad Tea Party because they had the Halloween overlay, and I loved it. It was just enough, with the music and the lighting to make it, a different fun experience for sure, and the parade is amazing. It's great because, yes, it is not so scary. So it's geared towards the theming so well, but it brings all the characters that you love about Disney and puts them with the Halloween twist, and love that. And I think the other thing that was amazing was going through Monsters, Inc., the laugh floor there. And it was one of the stops where you could get candy, but also they had the show going live. So you could sit down and kind of watch and may even be part of the dialogue with the performers, or just being able to watch them as they would kind of, do little kind of jokes as people would walk by and totally ignore that there is a live show going on. And it was brilliant.
Yeah, we had never done the Not So Scary Halloween Party before. We'd done the Oogie Boogie Bash out at Disneyland, which is amazing. We've done, what is it, Halloween on the High Seas on Disney Cruise Line. So we've experienced some Halloween stuff, but we hadn't, for whatever reason, just a weird time of year, we had never done Not So Scary. So, and we didn't think we'd be able to do it this year either. But then when it lined up exactly with the night before Destination D23, we're like, okay, well, we can book this. There's nothing going on at Destination D23 on a Friday night. Let's go ahead and do that. And we were really, really happy that we did, because it was an amazing time. And when you go to these parties, Chris, you can pick and choose how you want to approach them. You can go full on Halloween, get all the photos taken. If you want to do photos with characters, you can wait in all the lines for the characters. You can fully do that. If you want to trick or treat, great. There's lots of places you can trick or treat over and over and over again. When we talked about bringing an extra bag on the DVC member cruise for the gifts, well, you better bring an extra backpack for all the candy you can walk away from with one of these parties. Then there's the parade. The Boo-to-You Parade's amazing. The nighttime spectacular is great. You can go on attractions. There are lesser wait times. We did not really do that this time. I think Michelle went on the teacups, because I will not, because I ain't spinning. But she went on, and I was out there watching her and enjoying the ambiance and her having a great time on it. And then we did the People Mover, because, of course, you got to do the People Mover when you're in Magic Kingdom. But we pretty much, besides that, just took on the ambiance of it all. Tried some food, did some trick-or-treating, checked out the parade, checked out the nighttime spectacular, took a few photos that we didn't have to wait a tremendously long time for, and just enjoyed it all. It was great seeing the characters everywhere, seeing Mother Gothel out there for the first time that I ever think she was out there. She was great. She was welcoming people as you were first walking in, and she was fantastic. Great Mother Gothel. And we're big Mother Gothel fans. So that was really great. It was a really, really good time.
Now, Michelle, if it ever lines up where we are all at Magic Kingdom at the same time, you, me, and Megan can go on the teacups, and Tom and Eileen can stand off to the side. So, yeah,
Sounds like an awesome plan. Got to make that happen.
yeah. And when we did the Halloween party, we tried to do a little bit of everything because we weren't sure if we'd ever be able to do it again. So we did a little bit of trick or treating. We did some of the rides, like we were just like, well, we've got to do Haunted Mansion, on Halloween, and they had they had special actors in the queue on top of everything else, which there are these extra little touches that I thought were really special and really, really cool. So we hit a little bit of everything. I'm not sure, did you guys have a chance? I know the lines were super long for it, but did you have a chance to see Jack and Sally?
We did not. When they first opened it up, and you could actually go in early, the line wasn't too bad, but we first...
It was 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad.
Well,
it was 90. It was posted 90 minutes. We're like, okay, I guess we're not doing that.
Yeah. And we were in the Mickey and Minnie line for a little while. And I think that would have, if we'd gone straight over, because the cast member said, yeah, she thought it was only going to be like a 30-minute wait. We have seen Jack and Sally at another event that Disney put on before. So we weren't putting that one as the priority. But I mean, I do think at different times of the night, that queue could be extremely long or somewhat shorter,
Yeah.
It's all in what your focus is of what you want to do.
I saw some pictures of that queue, and 90 minutes sounds like it was probably the shortest that it ever got. I will say, with the nighttime spectacular, the giant Jack puppet that they use for that is like, that is spectacular. I think that's one of those great kind of Disney touches. I'm looking at this and it's just like, I know that this isn't actually like that Jack is not here right in front of me, but it feels like he's, like he's there. Like this is actually, it doesn't feel like a puppet, basically.
Agreed. Disney puppetry is top notch. I mean, whether it's like there or in shows on the Disney cruise, they have a lot of times where they're using puppets in some of their stage productions. It is amazing.
Yeah, or Nemo, Big Blue and Beyond out at Animal Kingdom, which I don't think you've seen yet, Chris. You should see that. That's a really great show. When next time,
it had been closed down for a while when we were there, and then we were this last time when we were at Animal Kingdom. We had done some shorter trips, and Animal Kingdom just wasn't in the cards. And this time we were just like, we got Animal Kingdom. We're going to see the show. And then the day got away from us. And we still didn't see
as
the
it
show.
Does.
So.
Yes.
As it does. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that Jack puppet is phenomenal and adds that much more to that. The nighttime spectacular, the projections, the fireworks are great, the music. And then, you add that puppet. It's top notch for sure.
All right. Well, moving on to other top-notch experiences, the D23 Destination D23 seemed like it had some really great opportunities to gain some insight and some appreciation for Disney. All these kinds of things always offer some kind of window into the Disney magic. This particular event, what were some of the things that really stuck out to you, or that you walked away from saying, wow, I'm really glad that we got to experience that?
Well, I think first of all, the opening of it was just phenomenal. So they had Broadway performers coming on, and it was just like one of those, it starts with a bang. I mean, it was just this actually fairly long display of Broadway performers coming on and singing songs. I mean, it was one of those that started kind of small. Susan Egan came on first, and then it built and had the princesses there. It had something for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it just right off the bat, here we go. We're just going to have Susan Egan start off with, and it all starts to blend together when we go through all these panels and all these days, and we're exhausted. We just went to Not So Scary the night before. We're up early the next morning at these panels. But Susan Egan, I believe she's saying "When You Wish Upon a Star" right to get us started, and like, okay, here we go, and it's just incredible from there on out, right into the Walt Disney Studios showcase. There were so many great things. I mean, now, one thing I want to say about Destination D23 is people get confused on the D23 Expo, which is the old name for it. It's now like the D23 Ultimate Disney Fan Event, which is too long, even though I love long names and Disney loves long names.
Disney loves long names, except for their movies. The movies are always like one-word titles. So.
Anyway, I'll always know as the D23 Expo. That's massive and huge, and there's lots of it's Comic-Con for Disney, essentially. There's all sorts of different panels you can go to, and then the big announcements are there, and everything goes on. This is much more intimate. 4,000, I think they were saying it was 4,000 guests total, or 4,000-ish guests total that were there for this. It all takes place in one room. So you get into the room in the morning and you're there all day for the panels. You can leave if you want, save your seat with something there and you can come back to it, or somebody in your party wants to stay and can save your seat for you. If there's a panel you don't want to, you're not interested in, or you like, oh, I need to get back and do some shopping or whatever. And everybody gets a seat. Now you may not get the best seat, but everybody gets a seat, whereas it used to be it still is for a lot of the panels for D23 Expo, that you wait in a queue and you hope to get in. Not so much for the largest stuff now that they've moved that over to the Honda Center, which is a giant arena. You kind of book your seat ahead of time for that. But it used to be like you'd wait in the queue and you hope to get in. This, you're in and you're good to go, and you just kind of enjoy the whole day.
So would you say it's kind of, the D23 Expo is Disney World and the Destination D23 is Disneyland?
That might be a really pretty accurate analogy. This seems to be more geared to really being like a love letter to the fans. So you have a blend of, yes, you do get some announcements, but you also get some of the things that you love about Disney in a different method of showing. So whether it's these grand shows or where they're bringing you kind of behind the scenes, telling you some behind the scenes of attractions, or looking, like one of the things that was really amazing, at least to me, was when they went to the detail to share how they are researching the aesthetics of the new Villain Land. And you really then get to have a better appreciation of what they're putting together versus if you just go in the land and you feel it and it's cool. But now going in, when we do go in, we'll definitely have a better appreciation of recognizing what they were, kind of mimicking from some places and what twist did they put on it.
Yeah, they gave us no actual real information on the new Villains Land that's coming to Magic Kingdom. As far as what to expect within it specifically, but they did give us some glimpses of how it may shape out. The fact that, they have Imagineers and artists traveling to places like Paris and Barcelona and looking at a lot of the architecture there. And especially they were speaking about how they wanted to find areas where things almost like nature and physical concrete or metal or whatever kind of almost magically were blended together, like they were almost zapped into one another, and how that could be. And I love the concept of that behind a Villain's Land and what some of this architecture might be like. And we also learned that, hey, what they're going to try and do there is combine where we're going to have some villains kind of working together on some things, which I kind of love the idea of that, that you could have Maleficent. What if Maleficent met Cruella, and how would that go? Or how, we're going to have some kind of interesting details on like that going forward. But as far as actually seeing anything, we didn't really see anything specifically to this land and what's to come. I think next year at the actual D23 Expo, we're going to get a ton of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. But again, I think this really, the emphasis of this is really, helping fans appreciate what they love about things, so like I said, you get more behind the scenes. You get, the Becky Klein from the Disney archives coming in, sharing some things more historical or whatever, or you get to see some trailers that aren't out yet of some films that are coming up. So it just seems like more that, like, here, hey, we know you appreciate what Disney offers. Let's give you a little bit more of that.
And by the way, Chris, I know you mentioned on your most recent show that talk about Mandalorian and Grogu, and I know you shared like a still shot of that. We actually saw like a full trailer, like a full teaser. I thought it was going to be released like right immediately after that. I was surprised it hasn't been to this point. No spoilers on it, but it was fantastic.
It was.
Yeah, there was a full teaser trailer for that is ready to go, and it could be dropped at any time. It was really, really good.
Well, now I've got one more thing to look forward to, but I love how Disney does this. They do. It's funny because when you talk about magic, a lot of times, it's the old adage that, a magician never reveals their trick, but Disney approaches it a little different, and they will give you those peeks behind the curtain, and they will set, kind of give you a different way to appreciate how the magic is put together, which gives fans like us more appreciation, but there's also a way to kind of also celebrate everybody who does that work behind the scenes. And I think that that's really important. And I think that that's one of the things that sets Disney apart, both as an entertainment entity and as a corporation in general.
Good point. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say about this conference, for lack of a better word, is that it has something for everybody as a Disney fan. I mean, if there's a panel on that's not maybe one of your favorite things, then just wait. The next panel could be, because I mean, between, as Michelle was mentioning, history, movie clips, possible some slight park announcements, what is behind some of these park building things. Like we had several cast members from Disney Channel shows throughout the year. Main cast members come out and do a full panel from some of the shows, anything from what recently has come out like Zombies 4, all the way going back to Good Luck Charlie and it's High School Musical and everything. So if there's one of those shows you grew up watching the Disney Channel and enjoyed, there's one of those guests up there on the stage. Things about the movies, past and present. Again, you just wait, and the next thing is probably going to be something you're really going to enjoy.
It's like New England weather. You just wait.
Boy, and how. But yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that Disney has always done well is doing a great job, especially now, in leveraging different things like Disney Plus or YouTube or whatever, is they've done a great job lately of documenting and sharing their own history, and between the work that Disney does in this regard, and then the work that others do, like Didier Guez, who you guys had on, I thought that was a fascinating discussion that you've had, and I can't wait to read that. I've kind of fallen into this Disney history rabbit hole, where I'm really fascinated. And one of the things that I'm really fascinated about right now is Disneyland and the origins of the Disney company and leading up to the creation of Disneyland. And I was talking with Eileen about this a little bit, and some of that, from my perspective, is it's something that it's something that I haven't really experienced before. So it's like this great unknown. So I'm trying to learn as much about it as possible, and experience it vicariously, but also trying to gain a greater appreciation for everything that led up to that, which then led to Walt Disney World and everything that we experience with Disney now. So whether it's the Disney D23 Expo, Destination D23, or like I said, leveraging other, media. Disney's done a great job of really connecting with the fans on a different level. And between that and the work of other people, like Didier gets, there's just so much to absorb. You could spend forever and not absorb it all, but it's been a great kind of, like I said, rabbit hole to fall down.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're totally on, in that same camp with you. And that's what was really fun about, and we've experienced it in other Destination D23, is that they're bringing that history to you as well. I mean, for example, one of the speakers was Roy P. Disney, who is the grandson of Roy Disney, who was Walt's brother. And, he shared stories, like he said, his grandfather was, a banker. And even though he was at the studios, he saw his grandfather's, great guy, but, kind of his job is boring. And he would spend time with Walt. And he shared, that connection with Walt. He said, Walt, when you're in the room with Walt, he made you feel like you're the most important person. And he was a kid, and he felt that. And he just said, getting to experience, he goes, like, when I could go into the park with Walt, that was just a whole different experience for him, So it was really cool that they had that kind of like intimate look into an experience from a kid's perspective of being with Walt, whether it was a relative or just a kid, right? And then with Leslie Iwerks, she's done some amazing documentaries, and getting so excited about the next one that's coming out, where you say you're really interested in Disneyland. I mean, she's going to have in her documentary some scenes from opening day that wasn't ever showed, or some even building of Disneyland that wasn't showed, even though Walt had, one of his show episodes about that. There's some things that people haven't seen before that's going to be included in there.
And from Leslie Iwerks that, she did the Imagineering story. What she's going to do with this is going to be amazing, because everything she does is fantastic. And when you think about Disneyland being built, it was basically built in a year's time, essentially. And so this, from what she was saying when she was on stage, that this is some footage that they just discovered recently that is basically, hammer to nail, grading things out, and basically how it went from an orange grove essentially to being the happiest place on earth within about a year's time. So it should be an incredible discovery into that. And, you're talking about the Disney history. And of course, a lot of this is the Disney Archives, which was one of these first locations that ever decided that we need to capture all this information from this company, from all the various different elements of this company, and keep it and have it to share, and they still are finding things to this day. And we've been blessed to be at, as Michelle mentioned, the D23 Expo, or Destination D23, or the DVC member cruise, where Becky Klein and her entire Disney Archives team are sharing fascinating things. There was a wonderful panel during this that I don't believe was streamed. Some of these were streamed. This one wasn't, which was Down the Rabbit Hole, which they did when we were at the last Destination D23. And they did it this one too, where they bring out these undiscovered things in a fun way, that are just kind of fun and quirky and interesting. There was a great video that they showed that I think came from it was either the Wonderful World of Color, or it was from the Disneyland, where it was Walt, and because they were talking a little bit about Mexico, and they had like a Mexican mariachi troupe there. And it was just a really, really, it's hard to explain, but it was a really, really funny exchange between them. And it was just this amazing piece of history that I don't think I'd ever seen before. I don't know if you have.
Right. No, I haven't, and that's one of the things that Becky Klein was mentioning, is that in Hollywood, everything is very disposable, right? You do a film or a show and you're done with it. You're done with the costumes. You're done with all the sets and everything. And how Disney company has realized that that's part of their history, and it really is very rich in what it provides. So keeping it is essential.
And one of the things they mentioned is, since Disney has purchased 20th Century Fox, that the amount of stuff they have in their archives more than doubled when they had to bring in anything they could find from 20, and they're still going through that stuff. There still could be stuff from 20th Century Fox over the years that might make appearances as well. One thing I also want to talk about that down the rabbit hole, which may have been my favorite moment of all the great moments of the entire Destination D23, was who expected this? The surprise appearance based around looking at the great classic movie Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, of when Becky Cline basically wished on a bed knob into existence. The Lake Buena Vista Pipes and Drums band coming out, playing with their bagpipes, their drums. They're also known as the Creaky Reed Band, pipe band. You can find them. They're all made of firefighters. It was amazing. They came out, played. They had a Highland dancer on stage. Totally seems like off your radar of what, but it was amazing. And then they went out. This was at lunch break. So they went out in the lobby and played for like 10, 15 minutes straight out in the lobby for everybody to enjoy. It was like one of my favorite things because I think it was the most unexpected thing that happened during Destination D23.
Yeah, and they do a lot of those things. Like there was one panel we were getting ready. They had just done a break and getting everybody ready and back in the room. And then they pass around this box and they say, grab one and pass it down. And it was boxes of the popcorn that was specially designed for the new parade at Magic Kingdom. And so they had that because they were going to be talking about movies and films. So you had your popcorn and we're watching things about films.
That was for the food segment.
Was for the food section?
Yeah, that was because they brought that out there because they were going to show a lot of food. They're like, you may be hungry, but let's give you some popcorn that you can enjoy while watching this so you won't be too hungry.
Well, I hope that I'm able to get to one of these at some point. It sounds like a terrific experience. Like I said, I'm really diving into a lot of these peeks behind the curtain, and so these kinds of events and opportunities sound like right up my alley right now. And so I want to thank you for taking the time to talk a little bit about it. Before we kind of wrap up, was there anything else that came to mind as we were talking? Oh, that's something else that I experienced or that I thought of that you'd like to make mention of that maybe didn't fit into as the conversation rolled on.
Well, I think the only thing that did come to my mind about Destination D23, because they did open it up to have more people be able to attend and moved it over to Coronado Springs Resort. One of the things is that, what they ended up doing is having everybody park over at ESPN and then they bus people to the resort. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh, that seems a little inconvenient, but actually it wasn't. It was very smooth operations. The buses were running very quickly. It never waited more than 2 or 3 minutes and the bus was full and getting ready to go in either direction. So it was something that they really, I thought, did a good job of planning that out to be able to allow that many people to attend the conference.
Yeah, because they didn't want people parking, just coming in from the other resorts and parking and taking up all the space at Coronado, sure. Which totally makes sense. And it did work out fine. We did kind of tag team this thing. I got up early and because we wanted to get into the queue, get the best seat possible. So I would ride share over. Michelle would go park the car and then I would get the seats for us and she would join me a little bit later as we got there. And that kind of worked out for us. Mm-hmm. And then we'd just go back together at the end of the day. To the parking lot. And yeah, as Michelle mentioned, the buses were great. We got to experience so much cool stuff. Cuscotopia out at Disney Typhoon Lagoon. If you love the Emperor's New Groove, even if you just love water parks, it was just a fun evening out at the park. DJ, band playing, lots of different snacks to try out there. They had a fun little scavenger hunt. They posted pictures all around the park of these birds, and you had a bingo card and you were trying to find the birds throughout, and that was a lot of fun. And the water park was great. The 80s 90s concert, which we actually had seen virtually the same show on board the DVC member cruise, but again, it was great in this setting as well, and especially for those who didn't get to experience it aboard that cruise. And they even added a few songs that were not on that, so that was a lot of fun. We didn't mention this because it's not really part of Destination D23, but we also got to experience the Beacon Barrel for the first time. We broke away
about that.
Yeah. And that place is amazing. Now, I will say there's some seats that aren't the best. They allow you to get up and walk around and check as things are going on. We had the seats that maybe weren't the most conducive to eating and drinking and going and taking the fun, but we had never had any problem getting up. And when something started to happen and going and seeing it and taking photos or videos of it and everything, food was great. Drinks are spectacular. It's total fun. And it's going to be a place we're going to hit more and more. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, if you think of Trader Sam's meets Pirates of the Caribbean meets Oga's Cantina. It's kind of all combined into one big thing, and it's pretty fun.
Now, one thing we've experienced Oga's a few times. I've been hesitant with Oga's lately because Meghan's at an age where she's graduated out of the high chair, obviously, but she's not quite tall enough. So if we're at a standing table, her head is like here. So how is the experience in terms of you mentioned that some seats are not the best for X, Y, and Z, but is this a space? It feels like at times Oga's isn't always the most family friendly space. Does this have a more family friendly feel to it?
I would say it has more than Oga's. And in terms of most of the seats, unless you're at the bar is a stand up, but they do have seats. Some are regular low tables. We were in this one area that we were in high table seating against a wall. So I don't think she'd have the same kind of problem. If you like Pirates of the Caribbean or even Haunted Mansion feel, I think you would, you'd like this lounge for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only like you said, the bar and I think the map room was the other place where they had standing tables only. Everything else was sit down. Some were higher tables, some were lower tables. Some were tables for 2, some were tables for 4. There were some booths that I think you can have as a full group, or they might be split and you share kind of like you would at Oga's Cantina. They have in the main area, there's one big long table where you're sitting, but you're going to definitely be sitting with other people. So, but like I always say with any of these places is always ask when you check in, like, hey, can we get this spot or this room or this table? They can't guarantee it, but they'll try, especially if you're willing to wait just a little bit longer to get you that spot, and it's always worth it, especially once you've experienced it and know, okay, this is the area that would be best for us. That's where you want to do. So my recommendation is always ask. Again, nothing's promised, but a lot of times they will try and accommodate you at Disney.
All right, we got a bonus tip of the week this week, so thank you.
Can't be the best one because it didn't come from Michelle.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. Oh, well, I want to thank both of you for joining me. This was a blast, a great way to kick off a Saturday. For those who are listening, I recorded this a little bit early because I'm going to be away. So I appreciate Tom and Michelle taking the time and being flexible with me so that we'd be able to put an episode out this week. So now is the time where everybody who has been listening and just drawn in by everything that you guys had to say is everybody is clamoring to know how they can listen to more of Tom and Michelle. So please let everybody know where they can find you and how they can listen.
Well, first of all, Chris, thanks for having us on the show. We always appreciate it. We always have a great time with you. Eventually, we're going to meet in person.
Yeah.
One of these times it's going to work out. We're in the parks, Disney cruise, whatever. Hey, maybe the DVC member cruise. We'll see. Maybe Destination D23 2027. We'll see. But if you want to find our show, we are the Hyperion Adventures Podcast, the Disney podcast of positivity. We're on all your podcatchers, but the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on #always Twitter and Blue Sky at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are in Facebook, we do have a group. We're just doing some fun, positive Disney energy things on our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group. We have a YouTube channel. I do a morning show. Michelle joins me quite often for that, virtually every morning, where we just try and share some positivity every morning. On YouTube, we're at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to contact us, reach out to us for any reason, hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
All right. Well, if anybody has trouble finding you after that, I don't know how to help them.
We're a little bit of everywhere. You can't avoid us.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
thank you again. Thank you again for joining. This was a blast. I hope you guys have a great week, and I can't wait to listen to your next episode where you'll dive even more into Destination D23. And anything else you'd like to mention, or is there anything else on the horizon that you think that people should know about, or you'd like to just shout out at this point?
Go ahead.
Well, nothing specific. We are working on some other things. I mean, we always try and have something fun for you, and we do an episode every week. God knows, I don't think we've missed an episode a week in like 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've met. So you just never know what we might have, but we do have some lines out to some guests that we met maybe on board the DVC member cruise and some other spots that will hopefully be joining us very soon. And I know we have reached out to you. We have a topic in mind for you and Eileen that we'd love to have you on the show for. So hopefully we can work that out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and truthfully, that's a technology issue on my part that I'm trying to sort out. And as soon as I do, I'll be letting you guys know. So, yeah. So once again, I know I've said thank you about 1 million times, but I'm so appreciative for you coming on, and I'm appreciative for you guys and what you guys are offering on your podcast. Truthfully, it wasn't all that long ago that I discovered podcasts in the first place, and you guys were one of the first that I really listened to and found a real connection to. So I've found a lot of joy in listening to you guys. I've also learned a lot. So thank you guys very much. And I really appreciate that your friendship. You guys have been great. You're awesome people. And thank you so much once again. So once again, thank you, and have a great week, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, Tom and Michelle have been on a lot of great adventures, and I really appreciate them taking the time to share some of those with us. If you are looking to get your next great adventure started, you should check out We Do Travel Right. Because We Do Travel Right offers that concierge level service, the one-on-one service of an agent, but an agent who has the backing of a team. So they will help you get all of those hard to get dining reservations, your hotel reservations. They'll set up your park tickets for you and help guide you through things like how to navigate the parks or even how to navigate the app. And the best part about We Do Travel Right and their services is they are all free. That's right. You do not pay We Do Travel Right anything extra. And why? Well, that's because Disney or Universal or cruise lines or all-inclusives, they add the cost of using an agent into their pricing already. So you're paying for the agent whether you use one or not. So doesn't it just make sense to use the agent? So to get your free, obligation-free quote, go to wedotravelright.com/Mazza. That's wedotravelright.com/MAZA. And get your next magical adventure started today.
Well, I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand.
So long, partner.
See you real soon.
Well, that'll put a wrap on this episode of the Mazza's Musings podcast. Again, Thank you to Tom and Michelle for joining me. It's always a joy to hear their perspective on Disney and the Disney magic that exists and the experiences that Disney offers people. They have been fortunate to have a lot of those great experiences. There are a lot of things that I would love to experience, and now hearing more about them from them has me that much more excited about it. We all have our own Disney journey, though, and I would love to hear about yours as well. So even if you're someone who is just a park aficionado, if you love certain Disney movies that have connected with you, whatever it may be, whether you're a seasoned pro or you may want to talk about your first time ever being to Disney, all that kind of stuff, I would love to hear about it. So feel free to connect with me. And of course, the best way to connect with me is through our social media. We're at the Maz's Musings Podcast on Facebook. We're at Maz's Musings Pod on Instagram, Threads, and hashtag always Twitter. We're also on Blue Sky, and we have a YouTube page, and we are also on TikTok at Maz's Musings Pod. Now, you can also visit our website, mazasmusings.wordpress.com, and you can find more of this kind of information. There's a contact form there as well, and you can also find past episodes, more information about me and this podcast, and you can just subscribe to the newsletter. Now, the newsletter comes in your inbox once a week, and it's filled with information about things you might have missed, things that are coming up on the podcast, and things of interest that that we've come across and we'd like to share with you. And a lot of times that includes sweepstakes and contests. So if you'd like to get more of that information, you can go to mazasmusings.wordpress.com and subscribe to that newsletter. As we grow this community, we're always looking to connect with people. And one of the best ways to grow the community, obviously, is word of mouth. Just telling your friends, hey, I'm listening to this great podcast. You should listen to it too. You can also help us out by giving us a rating or review. Those ratings, whether it's 5 stars or thumbs up or whatever your favorite podcatcher does, those help bump us up in the algorithms that make us more visible to more people. The more people that discover us, the bigger and better this community will be. And if you want to take your support just a little bit further, you can buy us a blue milk. There's a link to that also on our website. And buying us a blue milk is just a way to help us with some of the small monetary costs that come with putting this podcast together. And whether you're buying us a blue milk or listening to the podcast for the first time, I appreciate your support. And as always, I hope you have a great weekend and a great week. Music for the Maz's Musings podcast is brought to you by Hi Dad Soup. Check them out at Mickey and Minutes on Instagram.